Hi, Barry Eaton here. Welcome to Radio Out There. And this week we are off to Mexico to meet Jocelyn Arellano, co-author of A Doorway to the Light, After-Death Experiences. And we're going to delve a little bit deeply. So please join me on Radio Out There. Jocelyn, hi, lovely to meet you. I'm in Sydney, Australia. You are in Mexico. The first time I've ever interviewed somebody in Mexico. Ole!
I think it's exciting.
Oh, it certainly is. Now, I had this wonderful book of yours. My good friend John sent it to me, A Doorway to the Light, After-Death Experiences. Now, you've written that with Carmen de Saiva. Is that how she pronounce it? Okay.
The Sev because French name, yes.
Conseil. Sorry. Okay, so now we talk about a little bit about you. You've not been on our program, so tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay.
You got to think.
What a hard question.
No, it's not. Just tell me who you are.
I feel I've been in a spiritual or self-knowledge path forever. And it's through my path, or the meditation path, that I started more than 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That one day in Mexico, I did not only start meditating in the 80s, with a Trappist monk who just passed away. His name is Thomas Keating. And anyways, that was the beginning of my journey in meditation. But in my 30s, I met a woman in Mexico called Carmen de Sev, who a friend of mine introduced us to us, because I was not only involved in a practice of meditation, I was also teaching meditation in those days. And I was also very involved in energy work or healing energy work with my hands. And this friend of mine said, I want you to meet this friend of mine who's in very strange things, just as you are. This was the 80s. This was like 1989, 1990, 1991. And she said, and so she introduced me to Carmen de Sev, who is my very good friend. She's now 90. And it's a very good, dear, good friend of mine. And she is what we call, of course, like you, she's a psychic. Well, we're all psychics, so we're all medium. But she's a very talented medium, I think. And she introduced me to her, and I was then 34. And I remember she said to me, I am receiving messages from souls and guides and teachers and beings of light, and that give me information about who we are, what we're doing here, where we're going, what happens after life, after death. And I thought that was, I felt, I don't know, I was interested. I've never had a doubt. Imagine you've never had a doubt either, that we can communicate with beings in all kinds of dimensions.
Yeah.
So to me, it was very natural that she could communicate and receive these kinds of information. And so I remember that at the beginning, I was teaching meditation in those days. I was teaching in a jail in Mexico. And I said, why don't you come with me and maybe you can help me? She said, yes. And well, that's how we started our work. And she started showing me, we would get together once or twice a week, and she would show me all the messages that she was receiving. And they had told her, like you just told me, that they told you to be on TV. They told her, you have to make a book of this. I write, this was not the book that we wrote together. This was her first book.
Right.
And so I said, I'm going to help you to do that, to do the book. She was worried in those days that she would, what people would think of her. She comes from a very conservative family in Mexico. And anyways, to tell you about me, I was even before her, even before I started meditation, I had started in Mexico when I was 27. Of course, it was called the Fourth Way by Gurdjieff it
Mm,
was Gurdjieff's teachings.
yeah.
And I remember that, I don't know why, the teachers in that course, they were mediums also.
Hmm.
So I've always been surrounded by mediums. I also think I'm a medium, but in a different style. I
Different
think that
way. Mm,
yes, I think that when I speak about these subjects, when I give workshops, I am being, especially if I'm centered, I'm being completely guided. I guess I'm always guided, but I don't always get the guidance. You know what I mean?
hmm.
One has to provide high frequency information. One has to be centered,
Hmm.
which was what I was centering myself just before getting in this Zoom with you. So, anyways, I've always been interested in what we cannot see. I've always been interested in living, practicing, and getting to understand today in this moment, who am I or what am I? And that has brought me to many experiences, and in particular, a lifetime of working with Carmen. And then years passed, and we had a meditation group together. And in that meditation group, we started receiving, well, we started, how to say, spirits, not spirits, souls were appearing in these groups. We could feel them. And Carmen would bring out her pen and a notebook, and she would start writing what she was receiving. So
Hmm.
to begin with, Barry, I don't know if we're going to, how this is going to go, because we're going to be guided, of course. But the way it started was that these souls who had passed away and who had been dead, it doesn't matter what amount of time, because
It
time doesn't exist, as
doesn't
you know.
exist. No, no. Only a third dimension.
And those in those beginning years, all the communication had to do, most of it, with why many souls, or when we die, some of us can have difficulty in our transition.
Hmm.
So that was the beginning. And to me, that was very interesting, because most of the entities that we spoke to, or souls who had passed away from this dimension, they would always tell us, uh, I am in this place where it is cold and and dark,
Dark. Yeah.
dark and cold. And if it wasn't dark, it was hazy, or like,
Mm,
you know, or like when it's a very dark and gray day.
hmm.
And and I want to know you hear your experiences. But what was very interesting to us was that this darkness and this cold that they were experiencing was in direct relation with what they were thinking.
Uh-huh.
The darkness was their thoughts,
Hmm.
the entanglement or the obsession with their way of thinking, which was always limiting, negative, or very negative. It would The darkness was in relation to the degree of darkness of their thoughts. I found that fascinating.
Fascinating. Yeah, indeed.
Fascinating. Because I was I am born, or was born, a Catholic, and we always heard about, purgatory and hell.
Mm,
Now, after all these years, of course, we started understanding that what we call purgatory, hell, in the Christian tradition, it's only different levels of consciousness. And there's many levels of purgatory or hell, many levels of darkness.
mm,
So it's a state of mind. It's not a place, it's a state of mind.
yeah.
So and then the degree, because, for example, let's talk about the lesser degrees of darkness, would be when they would talk about their attachments to loved ones, um, What are they going to do without me? I'm worried about what they're doing. They've sold the house.
Yes.
Now they
Right.
got a
So
very bad.
they're earthbound in
Right.
the best way I can put it, and I think most people realize that. They will not move on. They won't go towards the light. They are stuck here for one of multiple reasons. And that is what we want to start to have a bit of a chat about, because I think a lot of people think, okay, well, you either do one of two things. You either die and go into complete blackness, disappear, nobody ever hears from you again, you disappear, or else you go, if you're a bit of a good person, you go to heaven. Hey, surrounded by angels, and you're given a harp and your own cloud, and off you go. There's a lot more to it. You and I know this. We've been in the same area. I've written 3 books about it. I've studied it for ages, and we know there is so much more. And I think the thing about it at the moment, Jocelyn, is that so many more people are starting to say, hang on, I don't necessarily believe what they've told me in religion or my friends or whatever. I want to find out for myself. And that's why I want to have a chat with you, because there are so many people now wanting to find out where they go, what they do. And I was told, like you, from the other side, go away, write a book. I've written 3, and there's been a movement on to get this word out. Now, you and I and so many other people are part of this movement. So for those people who maybe want to join us, you write a lot about, and we're talking about those dark places, we talk about the astral, the lower astral and whatever. Let's just start there. For those people who hear that word, astral, oh yeah, okay, fair enough. But what is an astral? So maybe we should just give a very brief explanation of the bodies, the astral body, and so on. But do you want to pick that one up?
Me? Okay. Well, I'll pick it up on, and I'll share what I understand, which,
Yep.
like I always say, I don't have absolute truth. This is what I understand. The astral world is the spiritual world that we go to when we leave the physical body. The astral world is the spiritual world that corresponds to the third dimension, to a third dimension planet like Earth.
Yep.
I understand the astral is emotional, because I'm going to say what I understand, and I want to, because there's so many traditions that speak about, some speak about 4 bodies. You want me to go into the bodies? Some speak about 4 bodies. We speak about 7 bodies.
7.
Other people speak about 9 bodies. And I always say when I give a conference or a workshop, it doesn't matter whether it's 4, 6, 8, or 9. Let's just get the essence of these teachings, which means that we are made of or composed of several bodies. Okay,
so layers.
Layers, several layers. As I understand it, we have. I'm going to go from the densest to the highest frequency one. The densest is the physical body. And attached, well, very close to the physical body is what we call an ethereal or etheric body, which is it's an exact copy of the physical body, and through which this etheric body, we receive the energy that makes this body be alive in this planet. So when we die, the only thing that stays here is the physical and the etheric layer. But then we also have what we call an emotional body, which is also called an astral body. Some people I call it the emotional body, okay? We have an emotional body, and we have what we call a lower mental body. We have a mental body which is divided into, this is what we have been taught, it can be said in any other way. We have a mental body divided in what we call the lower mental body and the higher upper mental body. The lower mental body as the emotional body are based on the belief that we are separate. Let's say that because the lower part of the spirit has to, the way spirit can arrive here is through all these layers. So the lower aspect of the soul, which comprises the spirit, or the spirit body, is what we call the personality. Lower mental body, emotional body, etheric, and physical. Everything that has to do with the belief in that we are separate, everything based on fear, every thought based on fear is in the lower mental body. I don't know if you agree with this. And then all the emotions based on the belief in separation, based on fear, on the idea that we're separate, are the emotional body. So then in my school, we have the higher mental body, then we have the way we put it, the higher mental, we have an astral, we call it the astral body, and then we have the spiritual body. The astral body is where the Akashic is where all our experiences from all our lifetimes are accumulated in what we call the astral body. And then we have the spiritual body, which is our divine self, our connection with everything. This is the way we divide it. I'm sure you divide it in a different way, maybe. But I'm going to say what I understand, okay?
Yeah.
We are here, spirit. We're spirit. We come from divine light, divine source, whatever we want to call it. The unmanifested. This divine light or love that we are wants to manifest in a planet like this, to have an experience here. And it needs to cover itself with what we call the layers. We also talk about the soul, but I want to go into the soul now. So we'll talk about the layers. So what we call the spiritual body is the divine essence or divine light. And then it comes this other body, which we call the astral, which is where we have the accumulation of all our lifetimes. And then comes the mental body, which is the link between the higher bodies and the lower bodies. And then the higher mental body, where it's all the thoughts that have to do with union, everything that has to do with non-judgment, everything that has to do with forgiveness, everything that has to do with gratefulness, everything that has to do with acceptance is of the higher mental bodies. Everything that has to do with wanting to control, wanting to look for security in the outside world, everything that has to do with wanting recognition, everything that has to do with looking for security outside of us has to do with the lower mental body. And of course, the emotional body. I think you should pick it up from here.
Well, no, I'm right on par with you, because I think going back to the very basic, a lot of people still can't accept the fact that the body is just a vehicle for the soul. And that's it. It's like driving a car. We go out, get in the car, drive it. When we're finished, car goes away, we go away. In my books, I've talked about as like an actor. I started off as an actor. And what does an actor do? They train in the afterlife, which is our real home. They train for their role. Their role happens to be on Earth. So their agent, who may be their spirit guide, says, okay, I've got another role on Earth. You're happy about that? Right, we'll have a chat about that. You then go down, fulfill your role. You met all sorts of other people in the cast. Some people you may have worked before with other shows or whatever. Then at the end of that show, you take your costume off, take your makeup off, and go home. Now, that home is the afterlife. So that's the way I try to explain it to people, that is what we are. We're that actor performing a role on Earth, and maybe in other worlds, in other dimensions, even all right now, happening at the same time. Who knows? Because time, as we said before, is a third dimensional reality. So once we can accept the fact that there is a body and there is also a soul, a spirit, which is the vehicle for the soul, and once the soul leaves It's not death. It's just the death of the body. It's like the old car. Okay, well, I've had enough of that car. Very nice to have had you. Okay, bye. We're going to buy another one now. In between time, I'll do some research on what is the best car to buy. So that's the way I look at it. And a lot of people can sort of, oh, okay, that explains it. And they realize that life is not just born, get as much material stuff as you can, die, and go off into black ink somewhere. That there's a lot more to it. And I think that's why I wanted to talk to you, because more and more people are saying, well, yeah, I want more. I don't want to just go to work and flog my guts out and whatever. I want to have more. So they're looking for deeper. And that's what Spirit is doing, and saying, okay, we'll get all these people around the place, all over the world, write books, give talks, go to conferences, give talks, whatever. And we're all part of this. And that's why I love your book, The Doorway into Light. Because if you're in the darkness, you go into the light, that is when the darkness disappears. So that's my view on it.
It's a fascinating journey.
Yep.
What I understand for I understand that the soul is the container of the spirit.
Well, I've told it the other way around. The spirit is the vehicle for the soul. That's what my mom told me.
And the soul needs, and the body is the vehicle for the soul.
That's right.
When I spoke a little bit earlier about layers, and I call them different names, and the way I understand it, or the way I put it, simplifies that the soul, which is the container of the spirit, or the vehicle of the spirit, is made of all these layers, different layers. The higher layers, which are the layers that are in contact with our divine spirit, and the layers that are needed to function in this world, which are the mental, emotional, etheric, in order to survive, and the physical. Now, what is fascinating to me is that, and that we've understood, is that why would spirit, or this divine spark that we are, that we come from source, would want to have this experience in this rather heavy density world, and difficult because we forget who we are.
We have to.
We have. So how does and this journey, right? This journey of the divine spark through a soul, many layers through this and this physical body, the journey, at least in the third dimension, involves many lives and many deaths. I see that we're in sync with that.
Oh, yeah.
Many lives and many deaths, because it is through the experiences that the soul has on Earth, and maybe other planets also, of course, and the experiences that it's also having in the what we will call the spiritual world, or the astral world. It's a combination of both, that the soul starts opening or remembering its connection to source, remembering that we are this unconditional love through lives and deaths. Okay, so where do we want to go from here? I mean, in this point of the conversation.
Oh, well, okay. I want to move on a little bit, because we can talk about this in depth a lot, but I think for the benefit of everybody who's watching and listening, we need to sort of throw a few other things in. Now, in your book, and I love the title, as I said, A Doorway to the Light, you talk about a lot of earthbound spirits. They leave the body, and they, for one reason or another, whether it's fear, whether it's hanging on, they don't want to go, they're afraid, whatever, they are earthbound. We might call them ghosts. We might call them annoying spirits who come in and bang things in the middle of the night or whatever, but they are earthbound. And you have given some wonderful examples in your books, wonderful stories about how you can help these people. And I know you've done it, and I know I've done it too. Help them find the light and move on, and not be stuck, and not be annoying people by, appearing in the middle of the night and frightening the stuffing out of them or whatever. So let's talk about a couple of those, because I found a
Let's
couple
talk
of
about
your.
some examples. How about some examples
Well,
that
that's
you
what I
use?
was going to ask you. Give us some examples,
Okay,
because they're
let's go
great.
some examples. For example, one of the things or ideas that can really difficult our transition into the light, because we're all going to the light. What makes it difficult is, like I said, and we're saying, is how attached I am to my way of thinking. So suppose I feel guilt. I am guilty. We all tend to feel guilty. And I have been brought up, especially in my world, Latin world, Catholics, there's a lot of
Well,
a lot of still a big belief in that we are going to have some kind of punishment,
mhm.
and that there is some kind of judgment
Judgment. Yeah. Mm.
awaiting us, and punishment. This is big. Even if we don't really believe it anymore, we still have this idea that somebody, or that we've done something wrong, and somehow there will be some kind of judging.
Yeah, it's been
So,
pushed into their subconscious. That's what it is.
I'll speak about some examples. There was this person that we both knew while he was alive, but he knew more Carmen, and he speaks to us through her and tells us, I cannot believe I'm speaking to you, Carmen. I knew when I was alive that you helped people who were on this side, that you were helping people to go to the light. And now I knew you did it, but I couldn't believe it. So now I find myself here talking to you because I have no one else to talk to about what's happening to me. I have been waiting for I am in this dark and cold place. I have been waiting for some kind of judgment. I'm waiting for someone to tell me what to do, someone to judge me, and to tell me what awaits for me. And of course, then as we say to everybody who is in this predicament, as we say, there is no judgment and there is no punishment.
Mhm.
There's only the love or unconditional love of the Almighty. There's only love. And all you have to do to ask to see this light or to feel this love, all you have to do is to ask to see the light. And he said, well, I don't believe you, because here it's all dark. There's no light. And how can you tell me that? How can you? I don't believe you. And why would the church be saying things that are not true? I've always been told that there was a judgment or punishment. I don't believe you. He would say things like, I'm not exaggerating. He said, 20,000 saints cannot be wrong. How could it be possible that all these years of the church, they have been wrong? I don't believe you. And it's not only that I don't believe you. I think you are dealing with the devil. So
There you are. Oh, devil. Yeah, put him in there.
you are dealing with the devil. So thank you. I know your intentions are good, but that's it. Goodbye. I don't
Bye.
believe you. Goodbye. He would literally say goodbye. Okay, 2 weeks after he comes back, he says, I need you to prove to me that what you're saying is right. Because, of course, you're saying that God is love. You're saying that God doesn't punish me. So that doesn't sound so wrong. But it's very hard for me to believe you. And he also said, when I talk to you, because when we talk to these entities that are stuck in transition or lost in transition, like that movie, while Carmen or one of us is talking and saying, God is love, God is forgiveness, you just have to let yourself go and ask to see the light. The other one is always concentrating on sending light. Like the way we send light is we would concentrate on words like God, light, love, peace, or may the light be with you, may the light be with you, may the light be with you. Or if you are creative enough, or you can you visualize the person surrounded. It doesn't even matter if you didn't know the person. You just visualize somebody surrounded by light. And they always tell us that when we do this, they feel love. They feel something very agreeable. They like it. Because every time us that are here, and we want to help those who are in a difficult transit. When you concentrate on words of love, like any prayer is a love, it's words of love, prayers, mantras, or like I said, God, love, peace, may the light be with you. They feel the love. And he says, it feels so nice, but I can't, it's so hard for me to believe you. I still don't believe you. And he left again. He said, goodbye. Thank you, but goodbye. And he came back on a third time. He said, well, there must be something to what you're saying. If you only talk about love, how can there be something wrong with that? And he says, I have nothing to lose. I will ask to see the slide that you're talking about. So he starts, may I see the slide? May I see the slide? May I see the slide? And immediately, when they start saying this, may I see the light, because it's all a matter of your mind. If you want it, then they see, oh, I see this like a beam of light. I start seeing, or like I don't know, like a line of light, and it's becoming bigger, and I'm feeling absorbed. I'm being absorbed by this light. I'm feeling so much love. This must be heaven. Now I understand, because in the light, everything seems to clarify in their minds.
Mhm.
There's clarity, and they say, why isn't this being said in a different way? So it's not so difficult for us to get it. Except one of my biggest problems in my lifetime was that I was so, what is the word that you use when you think you have absolute truth and no, everybody else is wrong? I
I
don't know
can
if it's
think of
called.
several, but I can't say them on air.
Well,
Right.
said I always had a problem of pride, and I always thought that I was
Arrogance.
right. And that created a lot of problems for me in my life. And now it
Mm.
also created me problems now. I mean, and he's not the only one like that. There was a woman who was saying, I always did what the church said, and I was expecting to see the Virgin Mary to receive me. I was expecting Jesus to judge me and to tell me what to do. And all I see is darkness, cold, and nobody here to receive me. This has There's so many people who are expecting angels who
Oh,
are going
yeah.
to
Harps and clouds and angels.
smile.
Yeah. But
And
that's the
so,
trouble, though. We talked about that with the church. What does the church do? You talked about that word before, fear. False evidence appearing real. The churches through the years, no matter what religion, I'm not trying to bag any of them, but basically, what do? If you don't do what we say, you'll go straight to hell. Fear. Oh, I better do what they say. Believe me, otherwise you'll go off you go, never be seen again. So, of course, there's a lot more than that, because you talked about that word love, and love is the binding force of the universe. And we go there, we look for love. But I will say one thing: when you say there is no judgment, I disagree, because from my research, when we go over, we actually do have a bit of a replay of a lot of things that have gone on in our life, and we are the ones that start to feel the way we have put people through. So we're not judging ourselves, but we are at least understanding and looking back in a positive way. But there was no big man up there saying, you are guilty, off to hell with you. Now, there's none of that rubbish. So the light is there, and that wonderful analogy is in the darkness, the light comes in. How do you bring
wait, I need to move a bit because I see that
that's all
it's
right?
getting dark here. Okay, let me see. I agree 100% with you, Barry.
Mhm.
There's no judgment in the sense that there's no one to judge.
No. God doesn't judge. God is a form of energy. I've connected, I've done all, and a lot of people have. God is just pure energy, not an old man in a chair with lightning bolts in his hand. I mean, that's all mythical stuff. So we are part of God, we're part of the source, so we are all energy, and energy is the whole key to everything.
Yes. So, but like you say, we understand, we've been told many, many, many times, but some of these souls that have, they tell us about this replay that we go through some kind of movie or life movie about all these moments in our lives. And what's very interesting is that the way it's been explained to us, and I want to see here if it's the same for you, is that since we still have an emotional and mental body, we feel the pain that we have created for others through our ignorance. We feel that pain as if we had done it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Or we
That's
feel the
right.
joy,
Exactly.
or we feel the love that we have given as if we had given it to us. So this is what I found fascinating, is that's why, well, I don't know if that's why, but there doesn't have to be any kind of judgment, because we understand when we act out of fear, this harmony that we create for ourselves and others, we feel it in as if it was as if if it were done to us, as if it were ourselves. So how can you? Nobody can tell you anything. This fear, this process in which I am involved as a soul of acting out of fear, many times creates a lot of pain, which I am that. I don't do it to you, I'm doing it to myself. So I find that.
Well, it's the old saying, isn't it? If you point a finger at somebody and say, "What are you doing?" then there are three fingers pointing back towards you. So don't do it.
Yes, other examples, if you want me to give you other examples, because I've talked about
We only have a certain amount of time in this edition of the program, so I think you've given two wonderful examples there. But I want to go back to something, the power of love, because I think people think of love as, oh yes, a nice hearts and Valentine's Day, or a nice little thing of I'm in love and whatever. But love goes a lot deeper, and it is, as I said, the binding force of the universe. And the power of love is right there, and an integral part, a very important part of life in the afterlife. You've written about that.
Yes. What I understand. Yes, we've been told exactly that love is the binding substance or power of everything. Love is what binds every atom, every cell, everything is bound by love. And what I understand also about unconditional love, which is, I understand it's our essence, that divine essence that I am includes darkness and light. I find that fascinating.
Well, we are living in that two dimensions. I mean, good and bad, hot and cold. There are two different aspects there, and that is the way we live.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, at least me, but we spend our life fighting that which we don't like in ourselves, in the circumstances of our lives, or in others. We fight with that which we don't like. And I started with ourselves. And who we are, or what we are, accepts, doesn't judge, includes, embraces that which I don't like about myself, others, or the circumstances. And it also includes unconditional love, includes all my imperfections.
Now, there's a lot of people who would say there is no such thing. You cannot have unconditional love. That is part of the human race or whatever. What do you think? Is unconditional love feasible and achievable?
On Earth, on planet Earth?
Yeah, well, that's where we are.
rare, I would say rare times, but we can have little, little openings at times.
Little glimpses. Mm,
But our journey is about discovering that.
yeah,
Now, Earth, and now I'm talking while we are alive on Earth, it's just a little part of the whole journey. A little part, which is very important in the journey, in the sense that it is in this part of the journey that we go through darkness or polarity, good, bad, happy, sad, secure, insecurity. So we, through our journey, eventually we will understand that unconditional love includes all the polarities. But we are in this process now in third dimension, although I think we're coming out of this, but which is still fighting. No, that's why we still fight. Reject would be the word. Reject that which we consider is not good for us or in somebody else. So no, unconditional love in the third dimension on Earth, because another thing is when we're in the astral world and the astral planes. There we start touching on unconditional love. But as I understand, we will not understand unconditional love until we're in fourth, fifth, sixth, higher dimension.
higher dimensions. That's right.
Higher dimensions. This is just
But this is our training ground. I believe life is the evolution of the soul so that we can return to source. We can go back, get out of this third dimensional reality that's holding us down and proceed up, up, up till we reach those higher dimensions. How many lifetimes, how long it takes? Well, as we said, there's no such thing as time. We are on an eternal journey. I think you use those words in the book, don't you? And life is eternal. Mm. Look, we have talked about this for so long, and I have got so many other things I want to talk about, but time, third dimension, sorry about that, time is written. So please, can we have another chat soon? Pick up some of the other things, because there's so much more. Your wonderful book. Now, quick, tell me about the book, A Doorway to the Light, and it's available right now. You and Carmen have written this. It has been published in over in the UK, but it is available. And where can people find out a bit more about that and about you?
Well, again, the book they can buy it in Amazon.
Right.
And they find it now. To find more about me, they can go to YouTube through my name, Jocelyn Arellano. Now, the only thing, Barry, the book we just went out in English. So only you can find about me in YouTube or in Instagram in Spanish. So in English, this is just the beginning. You are my beginning.
Thank you.
You are my beginning.
Well, let's hope you are the beginning for so many other people as well.
My first interview in English, and I really appreciate it. And I really thank you for that. Not interview. This is not an interview. This is a first conversation with a like-minded friend.
Wonderful.
That we're sharing about this. So this is the English part has just begun.
It has indeed. Now, do you have a website where people who are...
They can go jocelynarellano.org and there, but of course, it's all in Spanish. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should start translating it because now we have AI. It could be in English, all translated.
There you are.
But it's still in Spanish because we had just begin with the English part.
All right, but you can get this wonderful book, A Doorway to the Light, After-Death Experiences. It's available through Amazon and published by White Crow over in the UK. John Beecher, an old friend of mine. Jocelyn, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience having to talk to you. And please, can we talk again very soon?
We will. I hope so. Thank you, Barry. All my respect and love. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.